Itai no wa iana no bogyo ryoku ni kyoku furias. H. I. Taita Omwamasa 113. Defense specialization and a disadvantage. Mi immediately used Flame Empress and then explosive flames, sending an explosive wind at the oncoming Yui and Mii. However, the knockback effect only worked on Maple, so the attacks would not directly lead to stopping those two. But still, changing Maple's position meant changing the area of invincibility as well. Now Yui and Mii would not be able to move forward in the field that Marks had covered in landmines, and they had no choice but to move back. The familiar method of defense that Mii had used brought about the best results for them. Explosive flames. Cover move. Mii sent Maple flying back, and then Maple moved towards Yui and Mii who were running towards her. Yui, Mii, over here. Maple called for syrup and put the two on its back so they could escape into the sky. This was because there was a possibility that she wouldn't be able to protect them here, when there was someone who could use powerful knockbacks. Flame Spear Flare XL. Mii started to alternate between mid-range attacks with Flame Empress and close-range attacks with the Flame Spear in her hand and acceleration. Maple was swinging her left arm, which was now a sword, but she could not keep up with the accelerated Mii. Even Predator was unable to catch Mii. So even Flame Empress is no use. However, Mii was unable to deal any damage either. Mii had assumed that her firepower at its strongest would be enough, but that was not the case. Misery. Marks. Yes. Explosive flames. Whoa. Misery's piercing attack came from Maple as soon as she was knocked back by Mii. On top of that, Marks's traps caught her arms and legs. Maple swung her sword arm and cut the plants that held her so she could escape. Then she used her great shield to block the piercing attacks. With her sword that was the size of a great sword and a great shield, there were too many things that made it difficult to land a hit on Maple. Furthermore, the fact that the enemy wanted to avoid entering the attack range of the vicious-looking Predator meant that even with Maple's slower speed, she had enough time to protect herself. But when it came to distances that were out of Predator's range, Maple's methods of attack were limited. She could only use the short sword skill one more time, and so she could not waste it here. What should I do? Mii's repeated knockback attacks pushed her out of her stance. Even if they didn't hit her directly, the knockback effect would apply to her if it hit Predator. And if there was a trap behind her again, then she would be in trouble. Mii, Marks, and Misery were all keeping a distance from her. And not only were they much faster than her, but the ground was littered with traps meant to slow her down. The way that these three rankers were fighting her was completely different from when attacking a monster. They never came close to her, but continued to use their mobility to confuse her as they waited for their chance. Mii and the others knew that getting in one piercing attack would not mean anything, and so they avoided using them. Misery, I'm going to use it. Adjust the defense power after this. Yes. As soon as another of Marks's traps activated, Mii used another one of her skills. Flame Prison. What? Flames erupted in a circle around Maple and stretched up into the sky. She was surrounded in a wall of fire. The top was open, but it was incredibly high up. She tried to hit the wall of fire with her sword, but it did not crumble. What? I'm taking damage? Maple realized she was taking a fixed amount of damage at regular intervals, regardless of her defense power. And so she sent Predator back and drank a potion as she waited for the skill to finish. However, it seemed to be taking its time. The skill was a trump card that Mii could only use once a day. It would not finish so easily. What should I? Maple considered her best course of action. On the other side, Mii was emptying potion after potion. Flame Prison could be maintained as long as you had MP, and the limit was 10 minutes. However, maintaining it for a whole 10 minutes would mean that you had to drink dozens of MP potions. Considering the nature of this event, this strategy should have been avoided, but they had little choice since they were up against Maple. So, what will happen? It would be nice if she just died like this. I don't think the traps will hold much longer. As the three strong players talked like this, a black Ma's shot up into the air with a burst of fire, then fell down outside of the cage. They may have been strong, but they had now flipped a switch in Maple that should never be flipped. Deploy all weapons. Maple transformed in front of all of them. She was covered in shining black weapons from head to toe, and this appearance gave off an intense sense of being overpowered to any who saw it. They had forced Maple into deciding that she could not win like this, shattering one of her shackles and so unleashing a new strength. This time, I will be the one attacking. Itai no wa Inanodbogyo Ryoku ni Kyoku 4es. H. I. Taita Omwamasa 114. Defense specialization and feudal resistance. With a bang, all of her weapons pointed at me and the others. Commence attack. Explosive flames. Maple fired off volleys of lasers and bullets. Me immediately defended. She took Marks and Misery with her and moved behind a tree where Maple's attacks couldn't reach them. However, if Maple's attacks couldn't reach them, then their attacks wouldn't reach her either. Even Marks's traps were nearly useless now, as there were no follow-up attacks when Maple was bound. Marks, what should we do? It's impossible, that's impossible. I agree, but I think that this is her trump card, so we should be thankful that we were able to see it. Me heard them say this, and started to talk in a frustrated voice. It can't be helped. We lost. Still, we won't lose for nothing. Me brought up the blue panel and quickly sent a message out to the other guild members. Let's go then. Yes. Me was about to take Misery and Marks with her and leave. However, a sound that was much louder than any of Me's explosions caused her to stop and look behind her. Found you. Maple was right in front of her, her broken weapons scattered around. And before Me could unleash explosive flames, Maple's left arm, which was now a sword, stabbed through her. KK. Deploy swords. More and more swords came out of Maple's left arm, and they all stabbed into Misery. Before Misery had time to think about what was happening, Maple turned her into a burst of light. Explosive flames. Me knocked Maple back. She grabbed Marks's hand and tried to escape with Flare XL. However, Maple was faster, and quickly caught up with them. She used the momentum from the explosions to thrust her sword into Marks's back. And just like she had done with Misery, multiple swords followed and pierced through his arms and legs. Ah! Marks looked down at the large blade that pushed out of his chest. His eyes looked down in defeat as his body dissipated. TSK. My MP. Me was just as inefficient as Maple was. She had used Flare XL for so long on top of using several big skills, that she no longer had any potions in her item pouch. Doubt she could only use magic one more time. Disintegrate. Instead of running away, Me turned around to approach Maple, then moved around her to stick to her back. And Me was now covered in flames. Huh? Are you trying to take me with you? Just as Maple said this, Me's body unleashed a pillar of fire that stretched up into the sky. It burned Maple with her. This was the last magic attack that she had that might be effective. But Me heard something just before she disappeared into light. The force of self-destruction, I can deal with that. It was Maple's merciless declaration. When the flames subsided, Maple was the only one there. My VD is almost 5 digits now with the skills, so it was alright after all. Maple deactivated all of her weapons, then had Syrup come down slowly to pick her up. I wouldn't have gone down there if I knew there were going to be so many traps. We need to get the orb and move on to the next one. Yes. I wasn't planning on using it. Oh, this is annoying. When Maple, Yui, and Mai arrived at the base, not only was there no orb, but there was not a single player in sight. Huh? What does this mean? They took the orb and ran? If Maple had been able to take the orb from them, they would never be able to get it back as long as Maple did not take it back to their base. Mii's feudal resistance had been an attempt to make Maple's actions a waste of time, and also avoid that terrible situation. What should we do? We were only supposed to get this, if we could, well, I have an idea. What? Maple listened to Yui. There just happens to be a lot of guilds around here, so we can destroy them as we search for the person with the orb. Let's do that. The number of guilds that would be suddenly attacked because of me was 6. They would be dragged into the fight. Alright, let's go then. What Maple and the others did at the guilds they attacked was to simply walk in a straight line towards the orbs. The number of players who died in their path was too many to count, including the number of players who blocked Yui and Mai's attacks with their shields and still died. Through this, Maple and the others were able to gain more orbs, but whoever was carrying the one from Iftritz kingdom had had a head start, and they succeeded in escaping. We just need to hide for a while, then Maple will have to return to her base to ensure that it is safe. The now revived Me said to the other guild members. They would allow Maple to take care of the clamoring players, and in exchange for safety, they had only lost the point for their own orb and the points for the surrounding orbs. It hurts, but there are some merits. We also know now that Maple should not be touched. Me and the others would travel far away and focus on gathering orbs until Maple left the area. This meant that one of the strongest guilds would be out attacking at full force. On the night of the second day, things began to move again.